Okay, it's creaky. Someday I'll remember to oil this chair. The sun has been going in and out, so right, I'm going to try this without artificial light, just with window light, and we'll see. If it doesn't work, I apologize ahead of time, and things will have pictures up on Instagram and Flickr if you need to see details. But I still try to do this in order that it happened. So I showed you that made to move yellow top body that I found at the salvage store. I showed you to you last week, I found it the week before. And I said I was rerouting another dolled up in denim head to go with it. And that's with this reroot. And here's the face I gave her. Which I originally thought, as I was doing this face and this hair, that she'd be like some cool cyberpunk type. But then I started going through my clothes, and I don't have cool cyberpunk type doll clothes. So she just went with the rainbow aesthetic. I think it still works pretty well. I'm not super happy with her face, but it turned out really smooth and not lumpy, so I'm happy with that. So this is actually the second face I tried. Under the first face I pushed myself, my boundaries, and I tried making it like almost a little more anime, and it didn't work out. It didn't look anime, it just looked to me like a mess, and it was lumpy. So wiped that off, did it over again. The hair, as rooted, I said I had only enough blue. I cut the blue down to 4-inch lengths. So it was like mostly 2-inch lengths, although there was one spot where I actually cut that in half and was actually plugging 2-inch lengths in, so it was only 1 inch long. So as short as her hair is, I actually did not cut a whole lot of it off because it was rooted so short, just because I wanted to get as much of the head covered in this blue as possible. And I got this blue in a tray with Alex Dalton, and there wasn't a whole lot of it. So there's just this little space in back. It's like about 3 rows of pink and the 1 row of the green. And this pink I've been saving for a long time. It's nylon, so is the green, and so is the blue, and there's the sun. It's not, what are you doing, Floof? It's not the greatest nylon, but I just love this color so much. This was like hair clips, you know, clips to go into your hair to give your hair funny colors. And I love the color. The quality was terrible, so I didn't have very much of it at all. So actually, I used about half of what I have just on this. But so that's a finished project. And then somebody on Tumblr had showed, Floof, what are you doing? Showed a doll body. It's the body from a Jinyi doll. And what are you doing? So the bodies from the Jinyi doll were also available separately for a low price. So a couple of us ordered them. So I'm still watching the Floof. So, and people were reviewing this body and said that Jinyi was the palest doll they had, like paler than apple white. And Floofycat just ran out of the room at top speed. So I had this Dynamite Girls Elton, who's the palest pale doll. And I had accidentally stained her legs with hosiery a few years ago. And because the stains went all the way around and were pretty thick, I didn't want to, it just seemed like it would be a hassle to try to fade with benzoyl peroxide. So I thought I'll get this body because this is a cute body, and all the reviews of it say it has a very fashion royalty feel. So I'll get this body and give it to Elton, and I got the body and it was pale enough but too pink. So Elton is actually in the window now with benzoyl peroxide cream on the top halves of her legs. And I'll leave her there for a few weeks and check to see what happens. And if that's faded enough, then I'll put it on the bottom halves of her legs and flip her over. And I'll probably have to do the sides too. It's like, it was the elastic on a pair of stockings she was wearing. The black elastic just went black all the way around both of her legs. So I said, well, what dolls can I use this body with? Because it is really pale. It's like paler than Mattel pale. And also it had a really weird neck. It's just a cut joint neck at an odd angle. Because the Jinyi head is like kind of a big novelty head. Not Blythe and Floop size, but bigger. So I went through my boxes of dolls, and a couple dolls from the 60s who had cut joint necks seemed like they would match, almost match, because their vinyl was really faded. So I cut down the neck of this body so it is a better angle, and then I like wrapped clear elastics all around the neck peg to bulk it up, and Maddie Maud got it. Now this Maddie Maud, who was a gift from Debbie Jones, thanks again Debbie, her face paint was terrible. Not because it got worn off through the years, but just because Maddie Maud's face paint was terrible. So now that she had a better body, I actually went through and like the white that was painted on her teeth was really thin. So I painted over that, and I altered her eyes to be side glance and just actually looking in the same direction, and I added blush. There she is. And now she might actually be in the I will reroot her someday queue, because her hair is not great. And if I do reroot her, I'm going to give her proper bangs. I'm just persnickety. I don't like the kind of doll bangs that it's a part and it's just short sides on the part that's brought forward. I prefer the kind of bags that are thatched like a part and brought forward like that. I will know, yes, that is more work. So someday she will get more hair. I don't know if it's going to be blonde again or if I'm going to go with a fantasy color for her because, you know. Those were my doll doings. And then I started sewing. On Saturday, I said, all right, this is the day that I'm going to sew doll dresses from lace in my stash. Doll dresses that I will have for sale. And I want to ask you, if I put stuff up for sale, whenever I think I have enough stuff to put up for sale, because my goal is to buy those rolls of doll weight, the big rolls of doll weight Velcro, which actually have gone up in price since the last time I mentioned them. But would you rather in the past when I've had stuff for sale, I have my sewing website and I'll just make a post on that. It's not a website, sewing blog. It's a blogger blog. And I'll just make a post on that. Here's my doll stuff for sale. The problem is I never know what to charge. Or would you rather the stuff goes through eBay? I know eBay can be a little bit messier, but I feel like more people would have access to it. That's why I'm asking. Do you want to go through a site where you have to wait for me and my weird hours on or off the computer? Or do you want to do eBay? At one point my option would have been Etsy, but I haven't done all the things that Etsy needs you to do to actually be able to use Etsy now, so I don't have Etsy at the moment. But the things I did sew, what I was determined to sew would be a couple dresses, like 4 dresses for sale, 1 thing to keep for me. Well, the 1 thing to keep for me ended up being just this shirt, which I initially thought I would make longer and use this bright pink lace that I have as a contrast, but once I started making it, it's like, no, I like the idea of this shirt for dolls. And there's the sun again. And there it goes. And so then the dresses, this one is Monster Eye Ever After High Size. And I really like this combination of lace. I will probably recreate it for something for my dolls. And I think I mentioned on one of the posts I made about this, it is harder for me to have this entire case of lace in front of me and say, all right, do whatever. I work better with a handful of scraps and says, okay, make this work. But I eventually got into the groove of making these lace dresses. So this is Ever After High Monster High Size. And then all the rest are Barbie and probably would fit Kirby size too. So I'm not even sure. I did post pictures of these on Instagram, so you will be able to see them in a little more detail than I've had. They're probably just black blobs here. And they all have black hook and loop tape closing in the back. Today, I went out to the thrift stores. I decided to hit 2 because I didn't get to go last week because the kid was home for spring break. So the farther one, I didn't find anything. Well, I found some 3-ring binders. And the only reason I'm going to show them to you is because I think it's a very me color scheme. And then I stopped in Target to see if they had Made to Moves, the new Made to Moves, especially Kirby, and they didn't. I did look at a Cuckoo Harajuku that was clearance down to $6, but I still couldn't convince myself to get one. And then I went to my regular thrift store, where they had a lot of dolls that were color of the week, which means they'd been there a couple weeks. And I guess I hadn't really been to that store enough to see them, or what. One thing that I talked myself out of was a porcelain doll with ball joints. Her elastic was super loose. Her ball joints were really, really clunky. She had a 1983. The artist's signature, I think, in 1983 on the back of her head. She would have been $4. Pretty big doll, but I ultimately talked myself out of her because I did not like the shape of her eyes. Like, even if I could get her paint off and get... It's like her eyes were painted glass. They were glass. They weren't cheap acrylic eyes, but they weren't... They weren't glass eyes with depth. All the color was on top. Even if I could get those eyes out, I did not like the shape of the eye opening, so I put that doll aside. A doll I did buy that was $2 color of the week is this gal, who is... She's EG Doll Company, the 15M, copyright 1967. I just love her dark eyes. And her hair's in pretty good shape. So, I'm not sure exactly what I'll do with this doll. Of course, I didn't need her. One thing I probably will do is try to replace her eyelashes, because obviously she'd had eyelashes that got removed at some point. Clean her up a little bit. It looks like she has something that drips down the side of her face. Now, I wish the dress was in a little better shape. There's some threadbareness up there, but I still might be able to recycle the parts of this cloth for other doll clothes. So she was $2. Yes, an impulse buy, but those eyes. And then there's the random toy table, which at first I wasn't sure if there was anything on there that I was going to get. There's a big pile of stuff, and I was poking through it, and there's like dollar store dolls and Disney princesses and nothing really catching my eye. But then I saw a Funko Pop Pac-Man, and I thought, oh, the kiddo might like this, but it was missing an arm. So I decided to dig through the whole table trying to find that other arm, and I never did find it. But other things I found... Well, I didn't really look at the face on this one before I stuffed her in the bag. Tiffy's been restoring a Giraud porcelain doll, and I thought maybe I could repaint this one to look like Giraud, but her face is very, very judgmental, unlike the sweet face sculpt of the Giraud. But I might still do something with this doll just to have fun. I mean, get a wig out of it. It's not a good wig, it's a wig. But I can have fun with this doll. Oh, I just looked at her hands for the first time. Those are some odd hands. So that's just something, you know, I just shoved her in the bag with all the other stuff. And I got this one for the head with the hair color on it, although now that I feel her, she feels like she's pretty solid glue head. I know somebody who likes mermaids, dolls and mermaids, so I will give her the body, see if she can do anything with it. I also grabbed this for her. Lala Loopsies are stinking cute. There were actually a bunch of Lala Loops, big Lala Loopsies too, but you can't fit very many of those into the bag, so I got that one. And the Lala Loopsie bug of some sort, because like I said, they are stinking cute. And also the cats. This is the kind of thing the cats might like to play with. As rooting around the table, I found this thing. This is UD, so I think that's Unita. I'm not sure. I mean, other than the fact that it was a bag full of stuff and there was room in the bag for this, I'm not sure what I will do with this. But, I can't imagine a normal kid these days would want something to look like this. Same thing with this. This doesn't have any maker's marks on it. I'm pretty sure this was a craft doll somebody bought just so they could knit these clothes and this hat for it. It's really hollow blow molded. One of its legs actually was out of the socket and just kind of being held on by the pants when I grabbed it. For all that, the hair is actually nice and shiny and not too ratty looking, but still. And I found also this, the IKEA Huset doll size chair, which the IKEA in Nashville doesn't open for another 2 years. So I'm always tickled whenever I find IKEA stuff. I know it's IKEA, but in America we pronounce it IKEA. So let's see if there's a creation date on it. So I was pretty thrilled, pretty tickled to find this. I mean, somebody up there is probably going to end up sitting on it on my shelves, just because that's what I tend to do with doll furniture. And normally this would have been the highlight of the toy table. I would have been thrilled. I mean, this came from there too. But normally I would have been thrilled, absolutely thrilled, just to find this. But as I was looking around for Pac-Man's other arm, I got to where I was going to tackle the big mound of toys in the middle of the table. And I like started poking out of the side, and I saw another set of doll feet sticking out. And I said, oh, is this another princess, another clone doll? Feet didn't quite look like the doll feet I'm used to seeing. So I pulled her out from the pile, from the bottom of the pile of toys. And I was kind of speechless for a moment, like I froze. And I hadn't even at that point decided if I wanted to get anything yet. So when I found this, yeah, I looked around like, is this real? Is this really happening? And I grabbed the bag and I put her in, and I put everything else on top of her, and felt guilty about putting everything else on top of her because I didn't want to squish her or crush her more. I mean, her dress is just shedding. But this is the original Solo in the Spotlight dress. And I will post pictures of her. I'm kind of almost afraid to try to clean her up. But her face, her paint is actually in amazing condition. You can see she still has curls in her hair and her bangs, and her hair is so shiny. And her fingernails and her toenails are in great shape. I have not taken the dress off. I can't tell. I don't think she's the version with the nipples, which is a little more rare. I did like about 10 minutes of poking around. Apparently, I think she might be a transition from 3 to 4, because she has the pale body that 2's had. Like I said, I don't know much about ponytail Barbies. I'm gonna learn real fast about them though. Her earrings obviously are incredibly green, and some of the verdigris has gotten into her hair and scraped across the side of her head. But the verdigris does not extend much beyond the earrings. I mean, I've seen pictures of some of these dolls where the whole side of their face is green from the verdigris. So I'm going to have some research to do and some very gentle cleaning to do. I have no idea. I want to keep her, but I know I could get some money for her, so I'm not sure. And she has the solid body. She's very hefty. So this was my big thrifting surprise this week. How was your week? Bye.